You're listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin Raphael McManus. It's so good to have you.
It's good to be here.
It is June 8th, Wednesday, around 11 a.m. in the morning. We're getting this thing going. We released merch last week on Friday.
We did?
Yeah, it was a dumpster fire. I say we did, but if you did, it probably would have gone better. Me and Austin did, and it was a dumpster fire. It was terrible.
Well, that's because I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So here we go. But we re-released it on Monday.
Okay.
We made it. We redid the website, redid the shop, made it so easy. People are always asking for merch.
They have been for quite a while.
They have been for so long. So we have merch. Go check it out. BattleReadyPodcast.com. The silliness is over. The merch is here.
By the way, I love the shorts. There's two different pairs of shorts.
We did two hats.
I really love the shorts. I really love the red hat. It's kind of new.
Yeah.
And I think the t-shirt's pretty cool.
Yeah, the t-shirt's cool.
Pullover is great.
Pullover's great. It's just simple. It's just easy.
And
then you be able to wear it every day.
Then you got kind of an easy entry with stickers and stuff like that.
We have sticker pack. It has like this sticker that's on my computer. It has a cell phone sticker of the Battle Ready phone. It has a BR and it has a what's the other one? There's another sticker on it.
So it's stickers like you get when you voted.
A coffee mug
you get
sticker.
The I voted sticker for those of us who actually voted. But several of you here did not get stickers for voting because you did not vote.
I did not vote yesterday.
Goodness.
But my man didn't win, so we're going to vote again in November, I guess.
Well, at least he landed ahead. But all right, so we got merch. And people can go right now. Where do you go right now to get the merch?
BattleReadyPodcast.com. We did a coffee mug, and we also did a sticker of a coffee mug. It was very meta.
Wait a minute. This coffee mug is for sale?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a different design, but it says Battle
Okay.
Ready and it has the M logo on the back, and it's cool. It's
People
like
have been asking for the coffee mugs for a while.
for a while.
And then there's a sticker that goes on a coffee mug?
No.
Yeah,
No.
that's even better.
No, Brooke. No.
I don't understand.
We were making the stickers and we thought it'd be funny to do like because remember we did the Battle Ready phone with the number that anyone could call and talk about Battle Ready and Art of Communication?
Yes.
So we did a little sticker that's like a cell phone that says Bat Phone on it. And then we did a sticker of the coffee mug on it too.
Okay. Because
why not?
if you don't buy the coffee mug, you could just buy the sticker of the coffee mug.
We just wanted to give everybody like an entry level. The coffee mug's $25. The stickers $10 for like 4 stickers. They're cool.
Awesome.
The other stuff's more expensive, but it's all like made here and like printed here, so it is expensive to do. But we did team up with a new company that's going to do all of our merch for us.
Oh,
so,
going forward?
Yeah, moving forward. So like they ship everything and all the customer service. So if there's any issues, they just reach out.
So you're
And
no longer
the person. Thank God. Thank God for me. Thank God for you. So and thank God for Austin.
Yes. Because when it's you in Austin.
Yeah. So basically, they take like a small cut of the profits, and
There's not much profit in the Battle Ready.
no. But it's just good to get it out there. We want to get it out there for
It's
people.
fine.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
really just a way to get people to get the word out with us.
For sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. And to
Okay.
identify themselves with the Battle Ready conversation.
So check out the merch. Check it out. Check it out. Go get it. That's it.
Awesome.
Let's jump into our episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? I see you have a primary
All right.
election
I do.
Official voter information guide.
Okay, so for LA, it was a big election because the office of mayor is up for election.
Yes.
And I don't know where you live if you're listening to Battle Ready, but there are certain cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York that really need to rethink their policies
Yes.
because their cities are falling apart. Our
Yes.
city is a disaster.
Disaster.
I mean, I live a couple of blocks away from Garcetti, who's been our mayor for 2 terms, and I got to say, he's probably done one of the worst jobs I've ever seen. And
Bye,
no.
Garcetti.
By Garcetti. Like Garcetti's Garcetti's gone.
he's gone. And in fact, somebody yesterday, a neighbor came up and said, is Garcetti going to India? I was like, it's not enough for him not to be reelected.
Well,
they want him to leave the
Because
country.
there was a rumor that Biden had offered him the ambassadorship to India,
India.
He
right?
did, but his confirmation has been stalled in the Senate.
It's been withdrawn, right?
I've read it's been
Yeah.
stalled, not that it's been withdrawn, but it may have been withdrawn.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is they're trying to reinvent his image because his credibility as the mayor of LA is just basically tanked his political career. So he needs a restart, and being ambassador to India is very prestigious. It'd be a good way to begin his career again so he could come back as a Democratic candidate later.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can come back from that.
You can.
I think I don't think there's ever been a president that's been an ambassador. Because when you become the ambassador, you actually get what is it called? Is it clemency? No. You become
you get a different status. Yeah.
You get like what is it called? It's called an international clemency. I think.
You don't have to pay taxes or anything.
You don't pay taxes. You also can't get arrested.
Wow.
You have diplomatic immunity. That's what it is. So get our man to India, because I think he might go to jail if they find out how poorly he ran Los Angeles.
Well, if I was Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, I would try to become an ambassador so I wouldn't have to pay taxes anymore.
That's very true.
It would be a great.
Well, Biden's filling over 190 ambassador spots.
Is it true that ambassadors get international immunity or diplomatic immunity?
I'm trying to find that.
I know that ambassadors to the U.S. get diplomatic immunity. It's why their kids can never get arrested.
Yeah.
Not when they're in school full time, no.
I know there are some basic benefits that you get as being an ambassador that are pretty extraordinary. But okay, let's go back to this. So we had the election. I think it's interesting. It's a midterm. So we had the lowest voter turnout ever here in LA, which is an incredible indication of the voter apathy in Los Angeles.
I didn't go. I went to dinner.
Yeah, and some of my really politically minded co-workers also didn't go.
Who didn't go in there? Come on, raise hands in the box.
I'm not going to call anybody out, but you can always self-identify.
Did you vote, Brooke?
Excuse me?
I think we have
connections bad.
I want to say this. I had a brutal migraine headache. I was actually
you were
vomiting,
super sick.
And I got myself up and I went to vote because I love this city. I've been a part of LA for 30 years. I live in the heart of LA.
Why don't you run for mayor?
I actually had that thought yesterday.
Did you?
I did. I had that thought that if things don't get better, I may actually run for mayor or run for governor because our leadership is appalling. I just don't understand the level of thinking that's being elected into office. And I mean, we have rampant homelessness, we have rampant crime, we have out of control violence. And we're not even maybe anything in comparison to San Francisco, where people are just giving up. They're leaving the hatchbacks of their vans open to let vandals know there's nothing in my car to rob, so just don't break my windows. You were robbed last week.
Yeah, I was. In front of my house.
In front of your house.
Yeah, I ran inside to grab something and they busted my door open and took a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and
I was very upset.
Yeah,
I was very upset.
It's so violating to have someone rob you just to begin with and to steal your stuff. And right now, the political policies that are shaping our cities are, it's okay.
Right.
I mean, we shouldn't prosecute people. We shouldn't hold them accountable. We need to understand that people are going through a difficult economic situation. And frankly, people who are struggling with poverty historically are not always people who choose crime. And in fact, some of the most noble, honorable, law-respecting people are people who are in the working class and struggling to come out of poverty. So poverty is not an excuse and for corruption, for theft. And one of the ironies is I know a lot of rich kids who are thieves and who steal.
Do you?
I have known them. Yes, I have.
Okay. But I wouldn't say the working class is the impoverished class. Would you say that?
No, they're two different classes. I was basically saying they're different,
if you're going to be a politician, this is all going to be on record. We got to talk about it.
What I'm saying is being poor doesn't make you a criminal.
Exactly.
And we are creating an environment where criminalization is becoming common, it's becoming acceptable.
Right.
And when you do not have cultural values that guide people to acting properly, you have to have laws and policies that punish bad behavior. And we're doing neither. We are not focusing on cultural values that create an ethic for not stealing, for working. And at the same time, we are not implementing the proper policies and laws to stop people from bad behavior. And we're going to have to choose one. I think we should choose them both. I think we need to focus on creating values that cause us to respect each other's properties And at the same time, I think we need to have policies and laws that make those kinds of criminal acts punishable by law. If you go back to even some of the tipping point observations from Malcolm Gladwell about New York, when Giuliani, before he went off the deep end, was the mayor of New York, and he connected the dots that graffiti elevated the level of crime and violence in the subways.
Right.
And when you clean up the city, you begin to diminish the amount of crime. New York went through a transformation. New York went through a cultural revolution. If New York, that was one of the most violent cities in America, could become one of the safest cities in America, and now becoming violent
but Giuliani
again,
is known for shipping all their homeless to L.A.
Yeah, because LA,
you know that,
especially
right? It's like it's a rumor. It's one of the rumors.
Yeah,
that, the way he cleaned up New York is that the way he cleaned up New York, that he gave homeless people in New York City a one-way ticket to Los Angeles and said, go to the beach.
Specifically Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Santa Monica's policies were
So is that the right way?
out of touch with
No,
reality.
is that the right way?
No, that's not the right way.
So what do you do?
Well, I think we're not going to get into this episode, but
Okay, so let's talk about the primary election then.
I want to talk about some of the people who are running. All right, I'm going to read some of these because I think they're kind of like
Give us the names.
No.
hilarious.
Okay.
All right, United States Senate. This is someone who's running for Senate. John Thompson Parker. Peace and Freedom is his party. Capitalism enables corporate masters to exacerbate crises of health, poverty, oppression, climate change, and war in allegiance to profit. Ownership of production and finance so as to be controlled by the people. This Senate campaign is about building that socialist systemic change. Vote for the Left Unity Party. So we now have open socialism. That would almost be communism running for state Senate. Here's another one. Eleanor Garcia, no qualified party preference. Elected leader, Socialist Worker Party. Longtime industrial worker, advocates union struggles for higher wages or affordable housing, childcare necessary for starting families, access to family planning, adoption, safe abortions, protests Washington's wars, for government relief to cover farm production costs, compensation to Black farmers for discriminatory land loss, active in defense of Cuba's socialist revolution. That's
What does that have to do with Los Angeles or California?
This is California, but this is the opposite. This one's Chuck Smith, Republican. So the other two are insane. They're crazy. I'm like, who's going to vote?
No, there's
for these
another
people?
insane one. Are you getting to that one?
Well, this one almost makes it. This is the counterpoint. America must be governed according to the Constitution. Okay. For the people and by the people. All right. I am a Marine Vietnam veteran. Retired law enforcement professional and patriot. But then, I am also a Christian, and I believe God wants to use me to help him make America righteous again.
If you know Chuck Smith, smack him.
This is like, please don't bring God into your insanity.
No, what's the one woman? No, what's the one woman? Put up the one woman that had the quote of the lifetime.
I'm looking for her. Okay, wait a minute.
Where'd she go?
Okay, give me a minute just to find her. You can, Brooke, you have any thoughts on these?
Honestly, I read through the majority of these and they exhausted me.
Here it is. Mariana B. Dawson.
What party is she?
It says no party preference.
Thank goodness.
F all politicians.
We'll put in a little bleep.
That is
don't put a bleep, just put an F.
I'm reading what's in our primary election guide. If you have to bleep that out, we are in trouble.
California is a hot dumpster fire mess of a state. That was a run-on sentence. We are in such trouble in this state that I'm actually nervous. I don't want to move, but I don't want to be here. So what exactly? I think we're done with this thing.
Well, no,
I think we're done with this thing. But like,
you can't tell me if I'm done.
I'm bored of it. What else do you want to
talk about? Running for mayor.
You want to actually run for mayor?
No. We're talking about Bass and Caruso.
What's Karen Bass say?
I didn't find hers. All right,
Is she not in there, Brooke?
But she was on the list, the short list for vice president for President Biden.
It's a short list.
The short list, and Caruso is the self-made billionaire who built the Grove and the Mcconaughey here in Los Angeles.
Which are huge shopping retail centers.
Right here in LA. And my question then becomes, because they're now in a runoff, is there's an odd dynamic in the gambler's dilemma. When a person is losing money in Vegas, it's harder for them to quit gambling than if they're winning money. Because when you've lost money, if you quit, you've lost everything you've already invested. So you keep losing more money. This is the basic gambler's dilemma.
Okay.
This is what our political parties have done. When a Democrat does not succeed in making the world better, they don't actually become more of a centrist. They actually become more of a liberal. And then when being a liberal doesn't make things, or moderate make things better, they become a liberal. And when being a liberal doesn't make things better, they become a progressive. And when becoming a progressive doesn't make things better, they become a socialist. And instead of breaking free from the gambler's dilemma, going, maybe our ideology and our policies need to be adjusted. Maybe we need to rethink our philosophy of economics, of social engagement, of politics. We just keep going further and further and further and further. My question, San Francisco just recalled their attorney general?
That's your question?
Yes, and now there's a petition circulating to recall ours.
Which we must. And because we have to come to the end of this gambler's dilemma, where we keep going further and further and further and further in one direction, thinking eventually we're going to go far enough to the end to fix things. We need to actually become thoughtful centrists that solve the problems regardless of political party or agendas.
I don't think anyone wants to be in the center. Center sounds weak. We have to create new language for it. Also, are we voting for the governorship as well?
I guess Gavin Newsom was on the ballot.
Was he?
Yeah, he made it through. Gavin survives. That's his hashtag.
I don't see him on here though.
He's on there.
Is he?
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, you may.
Why do you think Rick Caruso switched parties to Democrat before running for mayor?
Because you can't win as a Republican.
That's right. And that's why people don't show up to vote.
Why?
Because
it's not authentic anymore.
It's already predestined. It's
Yeah.
like, California is basically a fatalistic state where no matter who you vote for, probably the most extreme Democrat's going to win. And if things go badly, a more extreme Democrat will win. And if things go badly, a more extreme Democrat will win. And, the fact that Gavin Newsom is still in office and moving forward lets us know that we don't really have solutions to the problems that we're facing as a state.
Here's my thing is that this is where democracy gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have someone who's not achieving as a mayor or as a governor or as a senator, I mean, really, like, how do we even hold our senators accountable? I mean, I guess you call in and what do you do? I guess you complain or what is it, Brooke? How would you describe it? Because it doesn't seem like the American way is working anymore. If our president is 900 years old right now?
Every time you reference Biden, he gets older.
I'm sorry. It's not to say that he's not a good man or
he's 79. Yeah.
I'm not going to knock age in a bad way, but he seems like he's past the point in which he can run a 300+ million person country well. But also, what is like the prerequisites to become a mayor, to become a governor, to become a senator? I think professional politicians, the Great Resignation should only consist of professional politicians. You know who should lead the charge?
Who?
Harris, Biden, Trump, and Giuliani. They should all just resign.
McConnell, Pelosi.
DeSantis, Pelosi.
DeSantis is new.
DeSantis should go. Mitch McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he should go too. The senators in Texas should probably go too.
Cruz should definitely
Cruz
go.
should get on a cruise ship and go.
Well, here's the thing. 79 is not tooled to be a president, but it's tooled for Biden. Pat Riley's 77, and that guy looks like he's 20 years younger, and he can do more push-ups than
anyone.
Most athletes.
Yeah.
So if you were as sharp as Pat Riley, I think you could run the country.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that President Biden has lost something. He's struggling mentally, and it actually I think is endangering our country.
I do think, is this bad? But should presidents do full physicals that are like open to the country? Should presidents have like psych evaluations? Should presidents have, I don't really care about so much about their past and their history, because I think everyone can grow, and I don't think we should demoralize people for making mistakes. But I do think we should look like pretty consistently at are they fit to be essentially the CEO of the United States of America?
They do undergo physical examinations.
How did Biden pass?
How did Trump pass?
I'm not. Don't get me started on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we probably do need to address those questions as a nation. But I just brought this up because we're not going to fix America's problems if we don't have better candidates running for office. We're not going to have better candidates running for office if the Republican and Democratic Party control the entire political system because the system is corrupt. We're not going to fix the problem if the Republicans keep going to the right with a more fundamentalist, at least nodding toward the white supremacist side of American culture, and the left going toward this progressive socialist agenda that democracy, capitalism, wealth are evil. We're just going to get worse, and we need to realize that I'm begging smarter, healthier, more intuitive, intelligent people to run for office. We will support you. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. We just need better people running for office.
Yeah.
So, okay, now let's move on past politics. That's my whole political moment.
So you might run for mayor? When would he be? When's the next election for mayor?
Let's find out what the term is. How long you gotta wait?
Is it 4 or 5 years?
4 years.
I think it would be easier to run California than it would be to run LA.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It would be. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think being governor would be easier. I think being mayor of like San Francisco or New York.
Yeah.
That's a really tough, complex job.
Yeah.
Because you're on the ground and you have to deal with real issues. Like Gavin Newsom can now run again on pro-choice when really being governor of California has no role in that whatsoever.
Right.
But he can make that a political agenda. So you can choose a political agenda that has nothing to do with what you're doing in office. In LA, you better deal with crime. You better deal with homelessness. You better deal with the issues of poverty and crime in the city, or you clearly will be incompetent.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I just had to get that off my chest.
No, I'm glad
sorry.
you did. No, you're not sorry. I'm glad you did. I think the irony of the woman who said F all politicians is really interesting.
But she's running, so she's choosing to become one. And
I wish we could have just like a reset. Like, hey, can we have democracy 2.0? Democracy plus. It's I think it's one thing to show that like I find it fascinating when you have these like young tech guys who run these scalable companies at a high level and can cast massive vision to and create massive momentum and create massive companies that hire hundreds of thousands of people. It's like Elon Musk has 100,000 people working for him, or just under that, right? Yeah. Like when he talks about cutting 10% of the workforce, I'm like, you're still going from 100,000 to 90,000, and probably within that, you're going to start new companies that hire more people.
Yeah.
But when like presidents say, I'm going to create new jobs, I'm like, you're really not creating new jobs.
No.
You're creating tax incentives for other people to create new jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
Government does not create jobs.
Very seldomly.
Yeah.
Reagan did, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, what I cannot figure out is why someone would be against it, say, someone who's created billions of dollars and they've become a billionaire, but they're for a government that takes 50% of our income for doing nothing and creating nothing. And so I'm like, if you don't, because that billionaire didn't take anything from me. He created the iPhone. He actually created something for me.
Right.
But the government taking 50% of my income, that's actually something that's being taken from me.
Right.
And so I always think it's curious that we're so for big government, but we're against people who create massive wealth for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and increased our quality of life. The cell phone has changed our quality of life. The computer has changed our quality of life. The light bulb has changed our quality of life.
You really went to the archives with that one.
I'm going deep. This is the stuff that inventive people do. They create things that do create them wealth, but also change our quality of life.
We fight so heavily over what's going on in the present that we stop creating the future.
Yes.
And then we leave the future to be created to these guys, or created by Elon Musk's and Zuckerberg's and Bezos and guys who I don't know if they're thinking about creating it now. I think they're trying to like pioneer the future. They're trying to go into Mars and they're trying to go. Maybe that's what Elon's trying to do. Maybe he wants to be the first ambassador to Mars. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
International diplomatic community. I just think the government stopped being progressive and innovative, and now we're just in a place where we're watching democracy kind of deteriorate. I still value our country, still value what we do, but when we went to Barcelona last week, I came back kind of depressed. Like, we were in a major city in the world, and it was so clean, it was so nice, people were so friendly, and I come back to LA and I'm like, I don't like it here sometimes. You know, I love our city, I love the people I know, but I don't know if I love our city. I'm like, it's dirty, it's dangerous, there's homelessness everywhere. I got robbed on my block. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Culture, I'll say this. Governments are not run by geniuses. Governments need to protect the geniuses inside of a society.
Right.
You need to enhance the opportunity for human creativity and genius to be elevated. That's what's going to create a better world, a better future. It's not going to come from a government. It's going to come from the citizens in the nation.
Did you see Matthew McConaughey's speech at the White House?
I
sent
did.
it to you this morning.
I did, yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I actually thought it was really good.
I wish he was the president.
You know, he's going to run for office, I think.
You think so? I think he'll run for the governorship of Texas.
What was he referencing in his speech?
He was talking about Uvalde, Texas. I think he's from Uvalde, right?
Yeah, he is from Uvalde. He's talking about gun control. He's talking about
the
reasonable changes.
He talked about the last week and a half, him and his wife were on the ground spending time with the families. So he was kind of relaying that back into DC, I guess, talking about how he's meeting with both sides. I think he did both news channels as well, doing interviews. I mean, it felt like he was a much more reasonable or reasoning voice in the conversation and everything, because I think he's like not necessarily, I'm sure he's politically affiliated, but I mean, you're there speaking for Biden essentially.
Well, he's really not. I think that he actually is a gun owner.
Interesting.
And I think
I don't know. Do you know that? I don't know.
You can check that, bro.
It's a big statement. I don't know why sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm saying as a gun owner, he's actually talking about reasonable regulations. We all know that even the small changes to how you can access a gun will not solve the violence we have in our nation.
No.
But if we can make intelligent changes, why not make them?
Can I ask you a question? We were talking about this a little bit last week because, you know, we had such little information when we did the podcast on Uvalde. How did that kid how did Salvador Ramos get access to that much money to be able to buy those guns?
I don't know.
Talked about that yet, Brooke?
That's a question I would love to have answered.
How does an 18-year-old with no, like, did he have a job? I don't really think he had much work history. He's just in high school, right? Like, how do you get access to 2 AR-15s and a handgun and so much ammunition?
Does anyone have any backstory to that at all?
We know he bought them at a local store. I don't even know how much guns like that cost, but he bought over 300 rounds of ammunition, which can't be cheap.
It can't be cheap.
So several $1,000s.
Yeah, I heard somewhere like it was up to $9,000 worth of firearms and that he had. And so again, you know, I may not be right on that, but it was.
No, I think I told you that because I think I
several thousand.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. If everyone uses this horrific moment just to advance their political positions, no one's going to dive in and figure out what really happened and how to solve this issue. Because one of the things people aren't talking about is we need to secure our schools better. Another thing we're not talking about is that we've had this massive movement for 2 years on defund the police. And what we have in Uvalde is untrained, incompetent law enforcement. What we do not need is to spend less money on the people who protect our children.
Yeah.
We need to spend more money on them, have them better trained, more qualified. We need to create a higher filter. And this is why sometimes extreme responses are nothing but stupidity. The response of defund the police, and cities are basically saying we're going to completely defund the police. That's a level of ignorance that should not be allowed to run a government. We need to go through and filter out every police officer who's a racist. We need to filter out everyone who's in law enforcement who doesn't have the mental, psychological health to be carrying a weapon and a badge. But we need to spend more money on the police. We need to spend more focus on the men and women who are going to protect our citizens and our children. That situation in Uvalde shows us what happens when you have the wrong people wearing the badge.
What's upsetting is that the police department had actually just completed active shooter training, which you would assume would prepare them for situations like this.
Yeah, you can train the wrong people every day, all day, and still not get the right response.
Would you say it's bad training or bad hiring?
I think it's bad hiring.
Yeah.
It may be bad training, but it's clearly bad hiring.
Yeah. But I mean, what does a police officer in Uvalde, Texas make? Probably little to nothing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you have such low paying jobs where you're risking your life, like, are you going to risk? I was listening to, I think it was, maybe it was CNN, or I was listening to maybe it was NPR, where they were talking about like essentially like a police officer in a small town makes the same amount as someone who works at like a 7-Eleven. So like, why would you go and risk your life for a low paying job? Like, why? Like I understand that there's a heart to it and there's maybe a calling to it, but I'm like, I'm not risking my life for that little of money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that moment when there's kids in danger, I think it's a different thing. But a guy who doesn't have the heart for it isn't going to go in and try to rescue people and try to save people, right? They're not going to put their life on the line.
Yeah.
And like, you have to have guys who are willing to go into harm's way to save people.
Yeah. There's a guy who runs out of the room and a guy who runs into the room.
Yeah.
And the problem is you can't tell the difference when there's only peace in the room.
Yeah.
And I just think there's a lot of comprehensive issues that have to be addressed and dealt with that Washington doesn't really seem to care about that. They look at situations and go, how does this advance my political position? And it's very frustrating to me. Anyway.
Looking back, I think the left has the best marketing, right? It's like defund the police sounds so nice. Black Lives Matter sounds so nice. We have these marketing campaigns that end up taking over the effectiveness of the change, right? We know BLM as an organization is not good. The statement sounds nice, but the moment that there was a statement and then an organization built around a statement, it becomes so shady. When you have this thing of defund the police, it's like, yeah, it's a great idea.
It's not even a good idea.
No, it's not even a good idea.
No.
It's an awful idea. No, it's fire racist cops, fire fat cops, fire cops who are corrupt. Get rid of the unions. Create an actual a modernized system of governance within and accountability within the police enforcement. I mean, we were talking about it this week. I was following this like real estate guy who has like a blog and YouTube and a TikTok, who basically shows data about New York real estate and how he lives in a building that has 5 empty apartments, and how he like did a data search on the West Village in New York, and how there's 4,000 apartments that were empty because of an old law that basically said that if you leave apartments empty, if you fill apartments up in rent-controlled buildings, then you can't actually increase the price. There was like a law that ended up blocking that. So it's better for them to leave it empty until the whole building's empty, so they can renovate the whole building and then relist it at market value. So it's like they're just like playing the long game. Like, we'll just play like decades versus actually upgrading these disgusting apartments. Like, anyone who's lived in a little apartment in New York is like, that's not like, there's no happiness there. Yeah. It's like almost inhumane how expensive these tiny little apartments are in New York, and they're not renovated, they're not updated. They're pre-Civil War. Like, it's pretty insane, right? You have like these 5-story walk-ups. Like, this is crazy. But then you have this supply and demand chokehold on the city and these neighborhoods, and essentially skyrocketing rent. Like, this stuff is inundated. This stuff needs to be reformed. This stuff needs to be like recreated. These laws need to be changed. These policies need to be adjusted. But it seems like there's so much political interference and corruption that there's nothing ever ends up happening. How do you bring real change?
Yeah, one of the ways you can bring real change, and it's going to sound so superficial. One, real change doesn't happen in an instant. And there is no law that can bring instant change to a cultural value. For instance, you have the freedom of the slaves, but the racism in the South and even in the North, it continued. The law didn't change the value. And one of the things that there's subtle things like being rude. I know this is crazy. When you accept a culture of rudeness, of lack of civility, when we just choose not to be kind, we actually create the soil for violence in the future. Like moving people toward kindness. Like if you want to start making the world better in the long term, start being kind to people. Kind to strangers, kind to people serving you in restaurants, kind to the person at the store, kind to the person who got in line in front of you, at the department store. I actually think that if we could actually begin to advance and advocate a culture of kindness, we're going to begin to preempt something 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that will have happened in a culture of rudeness and unkindness and lack of civility. We don't understand the connection with simple human virtues in how it affects the society long term.
Yeah.
It's just like connection. When people are connected to each other, when there's community, I mean, you can not believe in God and not believe in church, but let me tell you, if you don't find an alternative to human community that church has created for hundreds of years, we're going to have more violence. Because one of the things that Christianity has done in American society is create a deep texture of community. When people see each other every week, when they sing together, when they do life together, when they share common values and virtues, it actually permeates the environment. You don't hurt people you care about. And the more isolated our society becomes, the more disconnected our society becomes, the more violent our society is going to become. And so if you think, we got to get rid of, like there are people who are out there going, we got to just destroy Christianity, destroy churches out there. You better have a better solution for creating human community.
Yeah, that will never happen.
Yeah.
Church will never be destroyed.
No, but it's like people, they want to get rid of something without realizing the intrinsic value it has in a society.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I was, where do you want to go with this? We're at 40 minutes.
I care more about people because of my faith.
Yeah.
I care more about community because of my relationship to Jesus. It's not the other way around. And one of the things you find so many times, like when I talk to so many people who are, let's say, atheistic or agnostic, and they haven't found a social replacement for community. And so then you have a growing isolation in society, a growing disconnection, a growing sense of despondency, despair, depression, and not only suicidal tendencies, but violent tendencies. And so I actually think if I could advocate for anything in this particular episode, is let's start being kinder to each other. Let's start paying attention to the way we treat people every single day. Let's start being more compassionate. Let's start trying to spread generosity to others. I was reading this quote around Marcus Aurelius today, and he was saying if you could find any virtues higher than, let's say, I think he was saying courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice, then it must be a great virtue. And I like those four virtues: justice, temperance, courage, and wisdom. Patience, but there is, to me, a higher virtue. It's generosity. It's interesting that Marcus Aurelius didn't highlight that as a principal virtue. I think that you have wisdom, courage, and generosity as the highest virtues. Because once you choose to live a life where you're giving away more than you're taking, when you see it as an essential virtue to make a contribution rather than just a withdrawal in the lives of other people in the world that you live, you begin to change the entire social construct. I think generosity changes the world. I think kindness changes a culture. And a law cannot change the human heart, but the human heart can make a law unnecessary.
I think we should end there. Okay, thank you guys for listening to the Battle Ready podcast. If you do all the things, rate and review this podcast, subscribe on YouTube, check out the merch at battlereadypodcast.com, follow us on Instagram, check us out on TikTok. We are so grateful. We have a new episode every Friday. We're so grateful for you guys each and every week for tuning in, checking us out. Thank you, Dad, for your amazing thoughts. We love you guys. Talk to you soon.